This is what theatre can be as well. It's not just in stuffy red seats in the dark. You get to actually be in a place that is somewhere that you know, but being shown in a completely different way. What's really exciting, thinking about the future, is what are the possibilities of plays in caves? They're kind of endless. You know, it's kind of looking at things that are potentially a bit dark, a bit underground, but also anything that's kind of beautiful and magical. This is what's so great about caves. They're very adaptable and can be used in so many different kinds of ways. I think the caves match the epic nature of Shakespeare. You know, when we talk about the natural world in Shakespeare's plays, we're suddenly surrounded by it. You know, there are lines all the way through Shakespeare's plays about the natural world, about rock, about stones, about things being cold and dark. And of course, suddenly you're in a cave and it is cold and it is dark. It's a very visceral experience for the audience.
Hello, my name is Tracy Irish. I am a practitioner, teacher and scholar working in the overlapping worlds of Shakespeare, education and theatre.
Hello, my name is Aileen Gonsalves. I'm Artistic Director of Butterfly Theatre. Butterfly have been performing promenade site-responsive Shakespeare productions in extraordinary spaces like caves, forests and castles for 10 years. I teach my Gonsalves method of acting in drama schools and universities, which is a method rooted in the work of Sanford Meisner, developed through my company working together. Tracy and I have worked together on a number of projects over the years. One we have to mention, because it's coming out the very day that you're watching this video, is that we have co-authored a book called Shakespeare and Meisner for the Arden Performance Shakespeare series, which we're very excited about and you can get from any bookshop near you.
But for this wonderfully conceived Globe for Globe symposium about Shakespeare and climate change, we want to focus on what you've just seen a little bit of in that short video clip, performing one particular play, Merced, in one very special set of caves, Kent's Cavern in Torquay. We're using the slight misquote in the title of this presentation, "Thy very stones prate of our whereabout," in two ways. As a reference to the resonance of Shakespeare's text as actors and audience move through the spaces of the caves, and Aileen will talk more about that, but also to the long history of telling stories in caves over millennia of natural climate change. The stones of Kent's Cavern have prated of the whereabouts of humans for possibly 500,000 years, with evidence of occupation by Homo heidelbergensis. The oldest evidence in the UK of our own human species, Homo sapiens, is a 42,000-year-old jawbone that was found in Kent's Cavern. And there is plenty of evidence in the caves that Neanderthals had already been occupying Kent's Cavern for tens of thousands of years before that. The more we learn about early humans, the more a clear picture is emerging of caves as places where hunter-gatherer communities would come together for protection and celebration and would share art, singing, music, dancing, painting, sculpture, jewellery, and undoubtedly storytelling. And quite possibly, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens shared the spaces of Kent's Cavern for the 2,000 years until Neanderthals died out. So butterfly shows in the caves are continuing our human need for storytelling, stretching back into prehistory, as actors and audiences connect with the underground natural environment and understand more about themselves as active elements in the ecosystems of both nature and human societies around them. Hearing Shakespeare's sensory language as part of the multisensory journey through the shapes, sounds, shadows and smells of the cave is an affecting experience. The tropes of darkness and supernatural in Macbeth play particularly well to our sensory connections of physical dangers in dark corners and the psychological dangers of the dark recesses of our own minds. The shadows where night's black agents hang out and where imagined daggers and conjured apparitions can appear, and where darkness really has entombed the face of the earth.
The company name Butterfly and the tagline "Everything is connected" derive from Lorenz's butterfly effect with its concept of the infinite possibilities in every moment. You know, a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, causing a tornado in Texas, cause and effect, or Meisner's famous, "You can't say ouch until you've been pinched." You know, acting is reacting. So we applied that principle to every area of the production. So we're responsive to each other, the audience, Shakespeare's text, the darkness, the light, the atmosphere, the music, and all aspects of the environment, because it becomes something to respond to in that moment. And because it's promenade and the audience is sometimes, a foot away from us and they follow us around and they change position, each performance is as unique as the people in it and watching it. So each performance is a completely unique experience, and we hope an unforgettable one. Kent's Cavern is a circular labyrinth, so you can actually travel around it in a way that makes the audience feel really quite lost. And they're very dependent on that connection to the actors and characters to take them through it. But, when those characters are witches or blood-soaked, it can be quite unnerving. You can subvert a lot of things when you are actually under the ground. We love the multivaried natural playing spaces. I mean, all the different levels and atmospheres that are created, they're inherently there. The claustrophobic space, and 1 minute, then you look round and there's a high vaulted ceiling. You turn your head and you're in a stalactite chamber, and there are all these glistening stalactites and stalagmites, and Banquo kind of shimmers into view. Or, there's suddenly a sheer drop to your side, and suddenly you see a tiny little candle and hear some scratching. You look down and Lady Macbeth's down there in the madness scene. Or there's a kind of long, dark, endless stone corridor disappearing into darkness, into nothing. And that's Duncan's chambers. Characters go up and down there. And, Macbeth emerges with his daggers, and Macduff emerges with horror. And it's terrifying as he comes out of this total darkness. You make very dramatic entrances. Witches, of course, are brilliant in caves. They're just endless, the possibilities. They hide in the shadows and they get camouflaged in the same colours as the costumes. We can make them the same. We often hear them before we see them. I once did a production where we plunged the audience into complete and utter darkness and then had the witches just sniffing around them. And that happened in the first 30 seconds of the play. And then when the lights started creeping up and these creatures were the ones that led them round, it was absolutely fascinating. We love to use light, though, as well. We can get to play around with the shadows. So we have these incredible shell fires, and they're made of scallop shells, and they're hollowed out scallop shells. And then these days we put moss in them and oil, but they would have had, they think, sort of moss and animal fat, and that's what would have lit them. But what they do is they cast so many weird shadows. I can't describe the shell fires. I think the video showed them for a bit, but they're so brilliant. And what's fantastic is they send off a kind of strange smell, which is very sort of otherworldly. Of course, our favourite thing is the bats. I mean, I love them. I played Lady Macbeth, and you do come, you spirits, and you look up and there are literally bats above your head. It's very thrilling, and the bats swoop around the caves at various points. And of course, so much of the play has references to evil that you can endlessly reference these bats that suddenly swoop around you as you're trying to speak. It's brilliant. Rocks, of course, big thing in caves, and so we have lines really ping out, thou sure and firm set earth, here not my steps, whole as the marble, founded as the rock. It gives Macbeth that absolute unassailable quality. He's surrounded by this fortress. And then, of course, darkness and light, the instruments of darkness, my black and deep desires. And there are no stars in caves, I'll tell you that much. The wonderful soundscapes that you can have, live singing becomes really effective, and it's fabulous because it's an unparalleled acoustic in there. So we do lots of things with sound. But silence, of course, is the other fascinating thing in a cave, because it goes into absolute silence. And you can really play with that in things like, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And, trees have been known to move and stones to speak. So it's great that, out brief candle is always one of our favourite lines, because we remember our first production where Nick actually spat out the one candle that we decided was enough to light a whole play in his speech. And suddenly the whole place was plunged into darkness. I had to crawl up and hand him a candle. The productions, of course, have been so popular with school productions. I mean, they come year after year. We've had them coming for 10 years now. Schools really love to come and see the shows because it's so exciting.
And so in 2018, we did a schools project. We were fortunate to get funding to work with teachers and students from 4 local primary schools in Torquay. We edited and divided Macbeth into 4 sections and the cave complex into 4 sections. And we then supported each school to create their own performance of their section of the play in their section of the cave, with coordination on design and transitions to create a coherent show for a public promenade performance. And the pupils loved working with Shakespeare, they loved playing in the caves, and they blossomed through the creative responsibility that they were given. They also learned a huge amount about Shakespeare and caves. But what we think they achieved was what we think of as the best of theatrical storytelling, the playful, collaborative responsiveness to the environment and being alive to the moment. So we're going to end with a very short taste of the result of that project. And please do visit Butterfly website for more.
But one word more! Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth. Cannot take the fear. What's the boy, Malcolm? To make them kings, the seed of Banquo kings. All hail Macbeth and Banquo, Banquo and Macbeth. All hail! Having the different people as Macbeth, it actually shows you, it sort of gives you that, oh, they've changed now, that, like, actually seeing them as a different person makes you feel like, oh, now does this person now represent, like, sadness? Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to hell!